Oz. I'm Bridget.
I'm Julie.
And we're just trying to set up at the moment.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
So if anyone comes in, we can chat with them.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not really literate on doing lives.
We're live, so here we go.
Okay. Poor Bridge gets to do a lot of the work. Oh, we're here. Okay.
Okay, and you type in there if anyone wants to talk to us.
Got it.
And firstly, I'd like to thank all our subscribers.
Yeah.
And where are we today? We're in Kapunda, aren't we?
Kapunda.
We did have a plan to go out and walk around the railway or, you know, even the dam here at Kapunda, but it's blowing a gale.
Yeah, so all you would hear is wind.
But yeah.
So we're parked on the side of the Seal Highway at the Map the Miner sculpture.
Well, we haven't done a live for a long time now, for a bit for a while now. I just want to make sure that the volume's down on this one. The ringtone's down, but it's still got a, oh well.
Yeah.
We haven't done a live for a while now.
It has been a while.
And doesn't look like there's anyone there, but you know, that's life with us.
Yeah.
I guess we'll be saving this for the channel.
We don't advertise these, but
no,
people can watch it when it's saved.
No, we don't. We're sitting in the ute. I guess the channel's been quite active. We've got quite a few videos that are in the background, in backstage as I call it. And there are quite a few railway ones there and some historical ones. You know, there's a few like Hendon dropped this morning, and we did a bit of a run around the old Salisbury munitions area, and I end up having to walk around and, you know, basically a zoom on where the old bomb factory was over at Salisbury, which is the back of Edinburgh.
Back of Elizabeth too.
Yeah, it's between
Edinburgh and Elizabeth.
Yeah. And you basically, if it wasn't for the blast mounds in the paddock there, you'd be looking straight at bunkers.
Pretty much, yeah.
You'd be looking at a bomb factory. And a lot of people don't really realise that, you know. And I think the land there, when I walked around it, it sort of looked like they're sort of putting in telephone and water and stuff, and it looked like they're getting ready, just a bit like the old DSTO site. They were sort of getting ready to put housing through there.
Had that look.
It looked like they were developing it, because I put it, you know, I don't know how to explain it, but the side road up there, though, there was some works going on. So yeah, a lot of the land in South Australia has been sort of divided up, and I guess the frightening thing is that was an old bomb factory, and God knows what's out there. And
look, we don't know. I don't think they're developing it for housing, but they were putting in some sort of utilities.
Well, back where the old air base is now was all part of the old munitions at Salisbury, and you know, the gates are sort of right in the middle of it, and it splits the two. So you had where number 3 platform was, you had all the
Penfield number 3.
You had, that was sort of like the last station, but you had the rail went on and did that sort of bloop and turnaround.
Yep.
And then you had like the mini rail going everywhere, as well as some large rail.
Yeah.
But they crossed over the other side of the rail, over the other side of that road, going to where the air base is now, and eventually where the airport is, right? And they'd had the nitroglycerin plant there and the stuff, you know. So, but that was back in, you know, World War II days, and they built that factory. It was like 1940. So, after the war, they had no use for it. So, the air base obviously become a more of a concern. I guess in the Cold War days, the Woomera and stuff like that, you know, like
well, it was the weapons research
was in the back there too. So because that's what was DSTO, wasn't it? Weapons Research, which was, we had the stores at Penfield number 2, I think, and then the original station down where the stores were, which is, they're the old DSTO with it. It's now what's like an industrial estate now.
Industrial estate.
They've basically opened up that part of the military base to factory use and divided up and put all the roads are all now public roads and moved some of them. So I'm assuming that's what's going to happen with Salisbury, because they've got private companies in there now. Well, there's still some of the old companies in there, but they've got private companies in there now.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're getting ready to sort of divide that one up too. Where the old houses are, where the old DSTO houses, where I think they had like military housing down there and the families or whatever. Those streets, and their houses are gone.
And where the rail turnaround loop was is just an open paddock, so it's begging to be built on.
I mean, up the other end, platform number 3. I was talking about where the house. I was talking about the houses where.
Sorry.
I was talking about where the houses were at DSTO. So.
Yeah.
And we walked through that, and we did a couple of videos on the old DSTO site, because when I first came here, I thought DSTO was basically where Penfield number 2 was, which is I think that's where DSTO is now.
It is, and it's where it was then
in weapons research, but but that's now something, But anyway, I'm not giving away two secrets, but that's so. We're talking about the historical site there and what it was, and I think we put a map up on one of the videos, and it sort of explained a little bit where the mini rail went and where the track went, and it's quite, I think the airport was an extension off the site. They sort of went further across,
more or less,
and basically where Penfield was, they got rid of Penfield as in the township.
Oh yeah, there was a village called Penfield.
Yeah.
And that got swallowed up by the Air Force Base. They basically kicked everybody out.
Well, Penfield Township, the middle of the township is the end of the runway.
Pretty much, yeah.
And there's a cemetery. We visited that. I'm not sure if you did a video on it, but
no, I haven't done a video on
the cemetery is still there. It's on the edge of the expressway. So Penfield went sort of, I guess, it was sort of the size of the military base, well, the Air Force base, all the way down to, I guess the...
well, the area was, the township wasn't the whole of that area. But
the middle of the township was in the end of the runway.
Yeah.
And it went right out to where the cemetery is out on the edge of the expressway.
And that was the main town in the area in its day.
Yeah, and it's...
long before Elizabeth was thought of.
We talk about, a lot of people talk about ghost towns. Penfield exists. I guess if you lived in that house near the cemetery there, there's houses around the cemetery there, would your address be Penfield?
Probably would be.
Yeah. So, I guess Penfield as an area still exists.
Oh,
it's just that the township and what was the main drag
is a literal ghost town.
Well, it was bulldozed. It's under the runway.
Yeah, that's what I mean. A literal ghost town.
Yeah. So
not just buildings with no people, but no buildings.
Yeah. So it's just what can I say? There's so much history in South Australia and so much, I guess, military history, like in Second World War, First World War. Like, well, we've re-released the videos on Fort Glanville.
Yeah.
Glanville? Yeah, that's
Fort Glanville.
And it's interesting to realise that, we're not talking about the Prussian War, we're talking about Crimean War.
Crimean War, mid-19th century.
It was expected that the Russians were going to attack. So they set up Fort Glanville and Fort Largs and to defend what was the harbour.
Yeah, Port Adelaide.
So, the 1800s, we're talking 1850s, 1800s, well, I think when Fort Glanville was built, and
1880, I think.
1880s was...
that's what you put on the video.
1880, and then, so, 1880, and then and then Fort Largs was built around the same time, and then the Second World War had come along, And from what I understand, with Fort Glanville, they had some involvement in the Second World War there, but a lot, they had actually a barracks down at
They did,
Fort
yeah.
Largs. And
Fort Largs, yeah.
And Fort Largs is now a housing development. So the fort itself is still there. And the barracks are on the outside of it, and they're still there, but they're still like got Harris fence around
It's been repurposed.
So it's, yeah, and they put like those blooming units there, and you know, for people that, you know, don't want a backyard, it's high density living at the beach, basically.
And architecturally, it's sympathetic to the existing barracks.
Yeah, but at least it survives, and that's what we're talking about with history here. I mean, we'd all like to expect that governments are going to preserve history and make them into a museum.
Not practical.
Well, and without a coffee shop or, you know, what are they going to sell tickets for $300 a head to try and preserve history?
Well, that's
that's if you get anyone visiting the place.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's often only so much you can say about the history of a place.
Yeah.
You know, if you think of it, most of us, our day-to-day lives, not much really happens. Well, that days and days of not much really happening is what we now call history.
Yeah.
If it was, you know, happening back then. And so there's not much you can say about it. You can write about the stories of the people who lived there, if you know that. You can write about the town parades.
But seriously, I mean, we're the people who are writing history right now. We're the people who are alive, you know, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is we could spend our whole, I mean, we do history. I mean, this minute happened. It's history.
Yeah.
On a loose sort of thing. But when we're talking about history, we're talking about, you know, looking back at either war history or looking back at a local history. We're not talking about, oh, look, we're going to, you know, set up a YouTube channel and this video is happening now. It's history.
Oh, no.
So what we're talking about is you know, general history about, you know, where you are.
We're talking about the fact that the road, I don't know if it's this one, but next road across on our left is called Old Adelaide Road.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Seal Highway, the current road. It was the old road was over there to our left. And that's also part of history, you know, how our road networks have changed, how our rail networks have changed.
Well, how it shaped the area.
For
instance, like I said, you know, the barracks, they had the tanks, they had, I believe they had was it an armoured personnel carrier, I believe, down at the at Fort Largs, you know, and we had over at, I think it's near the back of Manopara shops there, it's at Smithfield. There was a tank regiment.
I think there was.
And still, I think there still is, but I don't know, you know, and that was where the old where the old Nissan huts. So if you wanted to immigrate when what was it, 10-pound POMs came out. So when they were developing the Elizabeth area, and when this all happened,
Smithfield Migrant Hospital.
So, and that was history. So, and they needed people to, you know, it wasn't just Holden and all the places, you know, all that. There was also working in the factories and making ammunitions, like, you know, Hendon. I think the funny thing is that there wasn't a lot of history on Hendon. Was Hendon private? Do you know?
It was government.
That's what I thought, isn't it? I mean, and from what we understood, you know, I mean, we did the Findon line, and the munitions factory there. And they made all the shells, all the casings and stuff, and the fuse casings.
Finsbury was the bigger of the two plants.
Well, Finsbury, they made the shell casings. But I believe that they had a problem with the small arms, and that's why it involved Hendon. But, you know, the history of Hendon itself is that it used to be a runway. It used to be an airport.
It was Adelaide's pretty much first airport.
And before that, it was an ostrich farm.
An ostrich farm.
So, you know, when we're talking history, we're talking history.
Mm.
So, you know, so I guess I find that interesting, and there's just so much history here. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that South Australia has a huge military history.
There's more to South Australia than meets the eye. Like, people would more easily associate history with places like Sydney and Melbourne, where you've got much more in the way of old buildings preserved, and you've got, you know, the convict era and so on. But South Australia has no less richer history. It's just that it's German immigrants. Like, early last century, around about 20% of South Australia's population was German in origin.
Yeah.
And a fair proportion too was Cornish in origin as well.
Well, yeah, the miners here, they were
You've
Cornish.
got the Cornish miners.
Yeah.
That's why Cornish pasties are to be found in South Australia.
Handoff.
Handorf, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
the strange thing about Handoff is that around the Second World Days, they changed the name with, was it Bahana?
I think they called what's now Handorf, they called that Balhana for a time.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't come prepared.
They swapped them. They swapped the names around because of the.
There's a lot of towns in South Australia
German background
that were German in sound and origin, and World War One. If you were German, there was doubt cast on your loyalty to Australia.
Yeah.
You know, Germans had to work hard.
There was a time of war.
There was a time of war. They had to work hard to demonstrate their loyalty. Lutheran church schools were closed down because they taught German as a language.
Yeah.
So there was a huge sort of anti-German, you know, backlash.
Well, it's just funny that Bahana's got the same sort of name, you know, like.
Yeah, I'm not
which is what we've heard, but anyway, Handorf wasn't Handorf.
No,
for a short time.
For a while, yeah.
Which loosely translates to the rooster, right?
Yeah, it's called Rooster Village. Hahn is rooster,
but it's
and
named
Dorf
after
is village.
But it's named after a gentleman named Hahn.
Dirk Hahn, I think his name was, and so Hahndorf was, you know, Dirk Hahn's village. But Hahn itself means rooster.
Yeah.
And I have that from a German fellow, as well as clarifying it on Google.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's.
And some of these locations, they were renamed in around about World War One. Some of them regained after the war their old German names. Some of them kept their new names. And there's a huge list of places that had their names changed. Peterborough was Petersburg, I believe. That's one main big example.
We haven't really got anyone online.
No. And that's cool.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
So we don't advertise our lives are coming up, so...
We don't, no. So if we haven't said hello, oh, there's two people there. If we haven't said hello, I'm not sure. I mean, I've got this on... I've got the tablet set up so we can type with you, but looks like there's two people there now. I think my sister's there somewhere, so hi sis.
Hi.
Hi Sue. What else were we going to talk about?
Well, at this point we've got videos lined up, which tells me through till August.
Yeah, and we're doing a tour of the old quarantine station
on Torrens
and
Island.
This is what's
interesting.
This is what's interesting is that Sydney has a huge old quarantine station.
It does.
I've done the
on
tour
South
of
Head.
that.
Yeah, North Head. Sorry.
On North Head, yeah, and I've done the tour of North Head, and that's where I got those photos from. But like Sydney, Adelaide had its own quarantine station.
It did.
And if you were coming into haven't long, I guess historically. Oh, there she is. Hi Sue.
Hi.
If you were coming into South Australia, you had to go via the quarantine station. Like Sydney, you had to be passed. So if you're an immigrant, you didn't just turn up at
Port Adelaide and and say, hello, I'm here.
No. And if you wanted to get accommodation over at Elizabeth or whatever, you'd go via the quarantine stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, we hope to do some filming during the tour there on Sunday.
We visited there a couple of years ago, and we only had a camera. I don't remember doing any video.
No, we didn't do any video.
And it was part of the package then was you got to look around the old
Maritime
Museum as well. Yeah, so that's something we want to do. I mean, we've recently done the tour of the old National Railway Museum.
Yeah.
And I've hinted to that by releasing the light railway, ride.
Yeah.
But we did actually about an hour and a half of footage. So that's something that's coming up in the works. So we may not have been releasing a lot of stuff, but we've actually, we may not have released a lot of stuff, but we've got a lot of stuff that we've been doing. So, so we've kept busy.
And so that's in the pipeline. It's going to be released over the next couple of months.
Yeah, well, I've dropped a few videos recently, and that's with the series on Fort Glanville, and I just can't dump everything onto the channel. I think people just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, but Fort Glanville wound up being like a 3-hour video because we had a tour from one of the guys.
Oh, it was an amazing gentleman that volunteered there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. He gave us 2 hours of his time.
Yeah, and he took us everywhere that was open to the public to see, and probably a couple of places that weren't. And he talked the whole time.
Apparently you wouldn't have got that tour if you rocked up there. They sort of they open like once a month? Something like that. And every third Sunday or something for a tour. And he was telling us, and if they do a guided tour, it was nothing like what we got.
No. And I'm cold.
Yeah, it is. I could spin the camera. How about I spin the camera around so you can see what we're seeing out the windscreen? And I'll do that now. And it's blowing, and yeah, it's cold. And we were going to go for a wander around outside so that you could all see a bit of the railway or the duck pond.
The cold's okay, but the wind wasn't.
Look, people complain enough about the wind in the microphone as it is without throwing fuel to the fire by taking them out in a gale. I mean, we did that on the beach once. Yeah.
So getting back to Fort Glanville, it was a marvelous tour that we received, and well worth the 2 to 3 hour video. But people don't watch 2 to 3 hour videos. So,
well, our research tells us that people are reluctant to watch a 20-minute video, let alone a half hour. So half hour tends to be a sweet spot.
So recently Bridget's broken up the original video into half hour.
And remastered it, so it's in better quality. So it's in better quality, and it's in chunks that you probably can handle. Listening to me. Well, it's actually not me. It's John, the amazing John.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm there talking with John, and we're discussing things, but it's
John
interactive.
was our guide. And it was open on Tuesdays at the time.
And we just rocked up.
If you just want to turn up, and so we turned up.
But it wasn't open, so we rang the head office, and they said, there's someone there.
Yeah.
I said, can we have a tour? I mean, we've got a camera and blah, blah, blah. She said, yeah, no problem. Because apparently other people from YouTube have been there.
Yeah.
And although they didn't put as long as video as
what we saw on YouTube already for Fort Glanville wasn't anything like what we did. It was interesting footage. Yeah. But it was small chunks, like of the cannon being fired and so on.
I do sort of read the inspiration stuff that YouTube puts up, and I'm supposed to go, and this amazing history from the past, and by crikey. And, the reality is I'm not going to put it on. I'm just going to be me.
Yeah.
I could go out there and say, and the historic dead animals and blah, blah, blah.
But also, if we find that people want half an hour videos, well, that's cool. We could do half an hour videos. That's fine.
But I guess the reality is that if I'm not genuinely being me, then it's not me. It's not real, and I'm not going to sit there and use how they call it, like buzzwords and
yeah,
you know, and all this stuff that, you know, YouTube is trying to help creators, and I guess like that's positive stuff.
it is. It is.
I get
It's
that.
good media
Yeah,
studies stuff.
they're trying to help people try and make their content interesting.
People get attracted to catchphrases and buzzwords.
Yeah,
and
like
so on.
you know, you don't have to be a South Aussie to be lost in South Oz.
No, you don't.
You don't have to be, because you can come here and be lost in South Oz. You know, and you know, subscribe to us and get to see a little bit of South Australia, even if you can't be here.
Yeah.
You know, like we've said before, this place is amazing. I was born and bred in New South Wales, and it was the world to me. You know, yes, I've travelled overseas. You've travelled overseas, and when we considered moving,
Well, twice.
yeah, well,
that counts.
But when we considered moving to another state, we thought about, you know, Canberra. We thought about Victoria. We thought about even WA. But we came here, and it's actually a nice place.
Yeah.
I can honestly say I really do. I enjoy it, and there's it's got a lot of things going for it, and I think that the one thing I've enjoyed is how flat it is. To be honest with you, I did a lot of walking around Sydney, and you know, I was going to get onto
Bridge
this.
likes flat.
I'm getting on.
I'm a bit more of a hill and dale person.
I broke my neck jogging down Parramatta Road, so it wasn't that I was, in my younger days, that I was lazy. I just, you know, as you get older, there's hills here, but you know, but you know, there were looking into our past in Sydney. I'd like to talk, because a lot of people don't realise, and you can speak to a lot of people that are into trains, and I might read, you know, some digest or and that's great, you know, and I'll look the history up on the net.
These magazines are there for that, to write about rail history and stuff.
To be, I guess your history in trains is you were a train driver, and you drove a train for what, 10, 15 years?
I drove for 10 years, and I was a train guard for a few years.
Well, 15 years.
Each side of that. So
you spent a lot of your years on actually a train, and I remember before we left Sydney, I used to go hang out with you. Before things, I guess the
before they tightened
the
up
walls come crashing down.
Yeah.
You'd
Bridge often came for a run in the cab with me.
If I wasn't sitting in the front car, hanging out, I'd sit in the, you know, there was actually in the cab of a train, you have two seats: the driver's seat, and then you have what it might have been the
seat for the guard.
Seat for the guard.
The drivers and guards cabs were combined.
Yeah, and well, they split the trains up at different points, so basically they could shuffle them round.
Yeah.
And I'd sit there, and we'd be going around Sydney, or going around City Circle or whatever, Circular Quay, and in the tunnels and stuff, and I'd be right up there with you, and I got a bird's eye view of what it's like looking out of a train's out the windscreen.
Yeah.
You know, and that was amazing. And I guess it was.
There are other people have done videos on YouTube of the view from the cab of the train. So if you want to get an idea, you can look up these videos. Yeah,
and look, I guess they sort of shun that now, but
yeah.
But back in the day, you know, if you know,
there was things you could get away with back then that you can't now, unfortunately.
No, they don't let any kids in the cab.
They get a bit worried about, you know, safety issues and insurance issues and so on. Yeah,
so you know, and you and me sort of, I don't know, we are very passionate about railway, and it's been a bit of I guess we've researched a little bit of South Australia's history and railway history. A
little bit.
We have gone down to, say, Victor Harbour, and that's where there's a steam train running down there.
Steam Ranger.
The Steam Ranger, but it's not connected to the line.
No,
so you can only get down there.
When they put the standard gauge line through from Adelaide to Melbourne, they replaced the broad gauge line with it, and the broad gauge main line was the trunk line for places like Victor Harbour and that. So when they took out the broad gauge trunk, all the branches were left isolated.
And they're still running the Steam Ranger on it. I mean, I haven't been on it, And they've got the what do they call that thing that goes over the Granite Island? The
the
tram,
the Victor Harbour horse tramway.
The tramway, and I haven't been on that either. But
Which horse tramway was originally up to Gawler as well. Gua, not Gawler, Gua.
I went to, and you could run that all the way.
Yeah, from Victor Harbour through to Gua.
It was something to do with fishing, wasn't it?
I'm not sure, but yeah, fishing's a big part of that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gawler, there was a horse tramway at Gawler as well. It ran from the station up through to the main street.
Yeah. Well, what about there was a tramway going from Dry Creek up to the explosive,
and that was horse drawn too.
The explosive depot.
Yeah.
And that was all horse drawn, and they've got that.
We've got one of the explosives wagons and a model horse. is on display at the Railway Museum.
Railway Museum, yeah, and yeah, so and that's one of our videos. If you want to have a look at the
has that been published?
The explosive depot, yeah, it was one of the early
explosive depot's been published.
Has the National Railway Museum one been published? No, it's coming.
That's coming up.
Oh, it's probably a few weeks off now, a couple of weeks out now.
But when that's published, you'll be able to look at that, and that connects the dots for a few of the other videos.
Yeah. But yeah, and we did on the last video on the channel. We did a greeting for the channel, and we talked about the possibility of and the talk that they're talking about with all this new development going on in South Australia. There's some talk about extending the line, so going from was it Gawler?
From Gawler North. I forget what you've got Gawler main station, you've got Gawler Oval, and then you've got Gawler something or other, which I can never remember, which is the current end of the line. They're talking about extending that up through to what's now Gawler East. Yeah,
and they're also talking about going around, was it North Head down that way, going into where the
Outer Harbour,
going down to
extending the Outer Harbour line around the point and down the other side to Osborne, where the submarine factory is now.
Yeah, they're making the nuclear subs. Are they nuclear? I think they are.
I have no idea.
I don't know where they're doing the fit out, but yeah, and I guess that was in the media, and now they're talking about extending that line, and there was something down south as well.
Through to Mount Barker and.
Yeah, so...
hang on, or was it further down along the coast?
Oh, no. We don't get down there that much, do we?
Look, we read a lot, but we don't remember every detail, so...
But you can always research that yourself, because that's, straight off the net. I mean, a lot of the research we do is straight off the net. I mean, you don't know what you're looking for. It is,
but we pay attention to the veracity of the website.
You have a lot of publications as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I buy Motive Power magazine and Railway Digest, both of which report on what's happening in South Australia railway wise.
But on that note, if you do visit the National Railway Museum down there, they've got a huge bookshop there on railway as well.
They do, yeah.
And I'm sure you probably can buy a lot of those publications online.
Yeah, some of them.
Yeah, so
I don't think Motive Power is online. Railway Digest is available online.
It'd be interesting to know if the National Railway Museum actually has an online bookshop. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, it's just like eBay. People are prepared to pay the postage if they can get a very valuable volume if that's what they're into. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's only been us two, and it looks like Sue Ann. And
this video was going to be about a bit of an update as to what we're focusing on, what's coming up, a little bit of why we've chosen the themes that we have. Learning about history as a part of getting to know a place, and South Australia was a very new place for us, and we've both been here as kids for visits, but that was a while ago now.
Yeah, and then we moved here.
And we had to start finding out about the place, which was finding out where the roads went.
Both you and I have had family here, and I do have family here.
Yep.
But, I guess I could get, I don't know whether I could say this or not, but my dad served here.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't go to Vietnam.
Woodside, was it?
Woodside
Barracks.
Woodside, yeah. He didn't go to Vietnam. He didn't have any service outside, but
no.
he served here in
No,
South
he did.
Australia.
The ship that travelled from Sydney
Sydney
to
to
here
here.
went in international waters.
But anyway,
so
but
that
yeah.
counts as overseas.
So my dad served here, and you know, so I do have some family ties to South Australia, and you do too.
Yeah, but we didn't know anything about South Australia, so learning the history is part of getting to know the place.
Yeah. So like I said, I've become accustomed to South Australia, and it's my home.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, it is my home.
Although if we win Lotto,
who knows? If we win Lotto, the sky's the limit, right? You know, we won't be sitting in an old Holden. We'll probably be sitting in an old Holden that's been done up and worked, right?
But we keep looking at places here that go, yeah, if we had some money, we'd buy a place here or buy a place there.
I'll get my old get me old VE SSB back, or one of them old. You know, if you won Lotto, you could probably buy a whole fleet of them.
Well, yeah maybe, yeah.
Yeah, we all live to dream, right?
But this is what's behind the channel, getting to know the place, and
we sort of have stuck to the theme.
Yeah.
I mean,
broadly speaking, it's history, road trips, interesting places.
Yeah, it's South Australian based, and we haven't sort of shot all over the place.
No, as we've mentioned in earlier videos, we've got animals at home, and so it limits how far we can travel. Overnight trips are really not doable, and so we're limited to sort of, you know, no more than about 4 or 5 hours driving in any one direction.
And we've got 3 people there.
Hello
to the other people there. Please, yeah, pop in and say hello. We've got Sue Ann here. All right, well, I mean, if you've got any questions, you want to say anything, please do.
Yeah, I think we'll be logging off soon.
Yeah,
we've got 37 minutes.
We're at 37 minutes already.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about what's happening?
I think we've covered what's coming up. I think we've covered what's happening. Yeah, we're probably going to do more videos like this one too, in which we, you know, chat a little bit about everything, and, you know, chat a little bit about our own past history.
We do want to thank other creators that have been really supportive.
Yeah. And
I guess we'll start with Danny from History Hunter Down Under, and Barry, who's a great supporter of our channel from Temporal Transmissions.
Yep.
And then we've had World War II History Hunter has come
over in Germany.
He's in Germany.
He's given us support over the time.
And if you look down in the channel down the bottom for other recommended channels.
Yep.
Because a lot of stuff down the bottom there is basically history-based stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find History Hunter down there, recommended channel. And IKS is another one we definitely follow and we're members of, and they're in England.
And Martin Zero, who does a lot of work around Manchester, but does so very, very well.
Yeah.
By very well, he describes it through maps, pictures, and walking. How places were.
Like Martin Zero doesn't support our channel. There.
No, not directly, but he's one of the channels that we watch a lot.
But definitely History Hunter and Danny and Barry.
They support our channel. Yeah,
and you'll see them in comments. So
yeah,
shout out for them, and thank you for your support over the I guess the year or so we've been online. I mean that's how our channels start up. I mean, and thank you to our subscribers. We've got a few subscribers that are in there, some locals from South Australia. I think a couple that come to mind: Vegemite Girl, there's Simon. There's quite a few people that I could put.
Yeah, Bridge watches this end of things,
and mainly I do any of the replies back to anyone that asks questions. We've got quite a few truck drivers that watch our driving videos, but anyway, for those people that are subscribed to our channel, and we have basically, 380?
300.
Yeah, 300.
387 did we get to at one point?
380 something anyway.
Yeah.
But to those people out there that are subscribed to our channel, look, I really want to thank you. Being a curator on YouTube these days is not easy. There's a lot of people out there doing it, and they're all looking for that magic minute. And I think the magic minute we talked about earlier, about half hour, there's a reason they do that, because the algorithm is better for them. And we tend to go a bit longer than that magic minute, you know.
Yeah.
And we tend to not follow the guidelines of how to speak perfectly and have the perfect catchphrase. Oh, look, it might work for those people that are doing it, that've been around for a while.
Media studies says that these approaches work, but it's not really how we do things.
But I'm just going to be me, and I'm just going to really bring me to the channel. I can't do anything that me.
It's the easiest thing for us to do is to be ourselves.
And that's right. I mean, you know, that's what someone said to me. I've been on Second Life, and, you know, they ask you who you are and stuff like that. And I'll go, why am I going to create a lie? I'm just going to be me and be genuine. And that's it. And that's what you're going to get from me.
And we had one question about whether I've got my own channel or not. The answer is yes, I do have my own channel.
But it's nothing to do with this channel.
It's nothing to do with totally different topics to Lost in South Oz.
Yeah, and it's not connected in any way.
No, so Lost in South Oz is Bridget's baby, so to speak. I'm here assisting. But yeah, my own channel's totally unrelated to anything you see here.
Yeah, okay then. All right, well, I'd like to thank you all, and look out for the end of the series on Fort Glanville. Please give this one a thumbs up. I know I don't say, you know, like and subscribe, because in the end, it's really about your interaction, and your subscriptions really do help us. But it's just watching the videos. I mean, you've been here for 5 seconds. That view helps.
And as Matt would say, don't like, don't subscribe. You know.
And like I'm saying now, these days, you don't have to be a South Aussie to be lost in South Oz. Come to our channel.
You might become our catchphrase.
Yeah. All right then. Thanks for everyone for watching this live, even if you are watching it in playback. Thank you all for being here with us on our journey. It's been amazing. So thanks, Sue, for popping in.
Yep.
You're an amazing sister. Okay.
And for the other viewer as well.
There's 2 more by the looks there. But...
well, there's 3 watching at the moment. So if Sue's one of them, I don't know, am I one of them with this?
No. All right, we're off.
All right, we're off.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Let me turn this thing off. Okay, there it goes.